Okay with homework. When the thought first came into my head, God was like, you already know the women for this conference. You already know them. I put them in your midst, and you need to use them. And they're all gifted in different ways, different beautiful ways, awesome, powerful ways. And I like how every single one of them is different. I like how every single one of them brings something different to the table. They have different things to speak about. And it was so clear that God was saying, the very same way that I've been saving you, and it's a daily saving, the very same way that I've been saving you is the way that I want you to then reach back and save other women and pull them out of that feeling that they have to isolate themselves, or we get this bad reputation as women that we don't want to go beneath the surface level. And even just in making friends, you get into these little cliques or these huddle groups, and it's so hard to get inside that circle sometimes, especially when you're new, you don't know anybody, they've already established relationships. And then even if you've established relationships with some women, if you don't see them for a while, it's almost like starting over from scratch. And you have to work through those layers again and build up the trust and everything. And God just put on my heart so much of the pain and the struggling that's going on right now. Even just coming up to this week, many of the women that have been talking to me, phone calls, text messages, emails, they're crying out. They're crying out and they're asking for something. They know something's lacking, and they know that that something is really substantial. It's a huge thing that's missing. It's a void. And I want to say that it's God, but it's also relationships with God's people, genuine relationships. And so to come here today and to give your Saturday to, most of your Saturday, there's an after party after this. To give most, Deidre's in Zumba, Stephanie's house. To give most of your time today, this Saturday, we the facilitators are humbled. We appreciate you stepping up and being bold and being courageous and saying, yes, I want to mingle with my sisters. So the message, these 5 areas to me have been the 5 spokes of a wellness wheel. Recognizing that God can take some ashes, the pain, the friction, the confusion, the turmoil in my life and turn it into something beautiful has been the reason why I'm still standing here today. The reason why I didn't check out on life, throw in the towel, and say, you know what, that's it, I'm out of here, Splitsville, done with life. The Stephanie that I was before I went through some of the things that I went through, she never would have stood up here and said, oh yeah, it's awesome to lose a child. It's awesome to not have things work out the way that you wanted them to work out. And then I've changed so radically just by realizing that God is going to give me what He's going to give me. He's going to work things out for my good, and it's not going to look how I've planned. And the fact of the matter is that for a little broken body, this little vessel that was carrying my son's spirit, to thrive for 3.5 years and teach me more than some 60-something-year-olds and 50-something-year-olds is the whole thing that God is about, the unexpected. You're going to find His power in the broken things. You're going to find His grace and His work, His ministry into your life in the very things that you're thinking, that's dumb, that's ridiculous. Who's the bum on the street's going to educate me about Christ? You never know who is going to brush off onto you and bless you in your life. Righteousness, ooh. I woke up early in the morning, I think it was 3 o'clock in the morning at the beginning of 2014. We were about to go into a brand new year, and God just said, I really want my children to be righteous. I really do. I take it seriously. And while you're at it, before you go up there and speak to other women about stepping up in righteousness and discipline and all those things, Stephanie, I want you to get in your word. I said, no, God, we tried that. We tried that. Remember, I was reading through Genesis, good, decent, okay, yeah, Exodus, you started getting a little lengthy there. All these sacrifices and all these specifics. I don't like that, God. I don't want to hear specifics. I want to hear you sent your son. He died for me, and he sacrificed it all. And now I don't have to worry about how many goats, how many sheep, how many pigeons, how many doves, how many rams, I don't have to worry about that. And then it was like he was saying, but do you know that you can't tell people about who I am if you don't know all of who I am? You know the second half of the story. You don't know the first half of the story. And let me tell you what's so significant about the first half of the story. If it wasn't for the first half of the story being so like, oh, we're so sinful, we're so wicked, we have to keep doing this and keep doing this over and over, one sacrifice after the next. Just the perpetual cycle of sin in our lives was so great. Could you just imagine the stinking smell that was coming up from those carcasses, and the blood that you had to splash here, and the ways that you had to burn and lay cities completely to waste? And why would Jesus coming and sacrificing his life be significant if we had no idea what we would have had to do if it wasn't for him? Like, I don't do blood. I don't do dead animals. I don't do that. And the fact that God said, you guys aren't getting it right anyway. Let me just come down and get it right. It's so amazing and so humbling that a perfect God will step into our mess and get messy with us and just do it right for us. Just do it right for us. Intelligence. Most of why we battle and we struggle through life is just coming from a place where we don't know who we are. We create our own messes because we don't know who we are. I have had people tell me all my life things like, oh, well, just identity crisis type stuff. I'll sit at a table at school and they'll say, well, you're not dark enough. You can't sit here. Then I go over here and I sit with like the all Caucasian people. And, oh, you can't sit here. You're too dark. And I'm, okay, all right, well, let me sit in the miscellaneous. Where are you from? Mic check. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from, wherever. And I'd end up sitting next to people that were hurting. And I thought, how crazy is that God had me, even then, it seemed like, I don't belong here. I need to just go. God, call me home. Take my life. Because I'm not accepted. I wasn't being accepted at church, school, and even sometimes at home. It was always something. And I think I went through that so I could sit next to the kid with the dark makeup and the all black trench coat and the piercings all over their face, because they needed something that I didn't even know I had, which was a story, which was a relationship with God. And so that purpose, knowing your purpose, knowing who you are in God, that's everything. No matter what you're going through, he's going to work that into a testimony that you can turn around and reach back and grab the next girl, guy, whoever. Discipline. That's a hard one. For me personally, discipline in the sense that I know that there are a whole bunch of great ideas that are floating around in my head. This is one of the ones that God said a long time ago, go ahead and do. I'm just now getting around to doing it. Because like my mom was saying, just sitting down and instead of just having the plan up here, writing it down and getting it done. What are my steps? What do I need? Well, I need people. Check. Got people. God put me in the midst of people. What do you know? And I need resources. Well, okay. Let me pull from here and pull from there. He always works it out. It's just a matter of saying to yourself that this scary, really, really big thing is possible. God can do it. Exercise. I was seeing a counselor. Yes, I do need mental help sometimes. I was seeing a counselor, and the most profound thing that she said to me was that I needed to go ahead and get out and go to the gym. In my flesh, I was like, well, what are you trying to say about me? That I'm round? You trying to say I'm round? Yeah, I know. She said, it's almost like she could tell what was in my face, what I was thinking. And she said, when's the last time that you did something for you that is just for you? And I started running off a list. Well, I love doing my daughter's this, or I love going here. I love going here with this person or that person. It was always connected. intertwined in somebody else's schedule and somebody else's purposes and plans. And for her to say that I needed desperately to get out and have a me time, I was like, well, I don't have any friends to go to the gym with. I'm starting over, Lord. You don't understand. I lost my home church that I was at, and you mean to tell me I have to go and work out with a bunch of strangers that don't know me, don't know my story? They might not even like me. It's like, well, why are you doing it for them? Go to the gym for you. And I've been so encouraged just to know that he can pull me through that run or that Zumba or that soccer game. I don't have to be affiliated with somebody else. God has my back. He has my back. And it's actually better for me to not have that person in the mix. Like, this is my gym partner. Well, what if my gym partner doesn't want to go to the gym? What if she says, I'm really not feeling it. I fell off the wagon. I had some snacks today, and I was just thinking, I just want to watch TV and stay in. Well, we got to go to the gym. It's not about that other person. It's about me. It's about me being healthy for me. So lose the partner and just trust God. Two scripture verses, or I would say chapters, that fell in line with what was going on at the time, where I was struggling, and at the same time noticing where God was just pulling me through and saying, hey, these are the areas, these are the 5 spokes that you need to work on to your wellness wheel. The first one, and it's funny because I didn't know that they were back to back. I didn't know that they were chapters back to back in the Bible. And they're chapter 61 and chapter 62 of Isaiah. So I'm going to read a little bit of chapter 61. Special emphasis on 2 and 4. We'll just go to 2 and 4. And it's talking about how it's our job to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, and provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord and the display of his splendor. They will rebuild the ancient ruins and restore the places long devastated. They will renew the ruined cities that have been devastated for generations. And what came up in my mind as I was reading through that, and I said, I have generations of hurt. I have generations of hurt built up in my family. And I know that I'm not alone. There's a lot of women out there that are hurting in the same ways. And I don't want my kids to have those negative things repeat themselves. I don't want my daughters to grow up not knowing that they're important, and while their story is already different because their father is in their life, I don't want them seeking attention from boys just to get that kind of, well, you're pretty today. I tell my daughters, you're pretty. I also tell them, you don't need a man. You don't need a man. Girl, you're working it. Get that career. Grow up and do you. And we'll talk about boyfriends later. Well, when's later, Mommy? Like 31. 31. What I wanted to do was to just run so desperately away from past hurts and stuff like that. And I realized that in my broken self, I've been bringing a lot of that generational hurt and friction into my family. My kids have seen me at my absolute worst. I mean, bawling, crying on the floor, shaking. And I don't, while that's good for them to see that you do have hardships and stuff, you can't stay that way. The verses that I just read are revealing to us 3 significant facts. The first is that God is with us. He's paying attention to us, and he tells us that we will face problems, but he's given us solutions for those problems. The second is God is faithful. He makes a promise to us that he will provide for us, and that when we trust in his faithfulness, we will be called righteous. Not only that, but he's promising us a relationship, the kind of way that a husband loves and looks out for his wife and calls her his very own.